A TikToker with the handle Reesa Teesa recently exploded on the internet with her story of being married to a man she has labeled a pathological liar. The story is told over 50 TikTok 10-minute sessions. And if you want an overview, here it goes. Reesa met the man she would later label Legion March 7th, 2020, aka the kickoff of the COVID era. In the end, we find out that Legion is an imposter with a string of victimized girlfriends and ex-wives in his past. Although he presented himself to Reesa as a regional manager for a condiment manufacturing company with a bountiful bank account, over time it's revealed that he is just a smooth-talking temp worker who is also engaging in risky sexual behavior, including hooking up with sex workers. Reesa's story begins with her meeting Legion on a dating app. On the way to their first in-person meeting, her tire blows and Legion jumps to her rescue, first changing her tire to a spare and then immediately taking her to a shop to replace that tire.
So on my way to our date, I heard a boom and I lost control of my car. He changes my tire, which I just thought was the sexiest thing in the world. And then he proceeds to say, hey, I found a tire place around the corner. You need to get another tire.
This obviously created a good first impression, and the two continued to see each other. Being the beginning of COVID and under national recommendations to shelter in place, Reesa and Legion decide to quarantine together at Reesa's place as she resides in a rented 2-bedroom townhouse versus Legion's studio apartment.
We ended up talking. Mind you, our first date was March 7th. And within about 2.5 weeks, Brian Kemp, our governor, shut Georgia down. We were going to be on lockdown. So during those 2.5 weeks, we talked every day. We went out again at Red Lobster. I remember Red Lobster. But everything was going great. The issue was, where are we going to quarantine? So the question was, are we going to quarantine at his place, which he had like a studio type of situation. Like it clearly, where he was staying, I was like, it's like a studio apartment, but he kept telling me like, this is temporary because I'm looking for a house. Like he showed me the email from a woman who worked at the company where she was out on maternity leave, but she was putting him in contact with a realtor to help him find a townhome or a single family house. So I was just like, okay, this is definitely temporary. Like he's not trying to.
His cover story for this is that he just relocated to the state, which is, by the way, Georgia, from California, and was venturing on a new start following a contentious divorce. Legion told Teesa that he had caught his ex-wife in the act of cheating.
Did tell me in the first phone call that he was divorced, and that his ex-wife, she had 2 children, a boy and a girl who were teenagers, young adults. I think the girl was about 20, and he said that he had a very close relationship with his stepkids, but that he and his ex-wife had divorced because she cheated on him out in California, and so coming to Georgia was a new beginning for him. She was still out in California, the kids were still out in California, and so, you know, he was like, I can't stand her, but I still want to be in the kids' lives. I have to put that in there because that will come back later.
So over the span of 2020 to 2021, Reesa and Legion would conceive and then miscarry a baby and eventually marry. Concurrently, Legion made promises to Reesa to purchase a luxury vehicle for her and to use his earnings from arena football to outright, with cash, purchase a $700,000 to $750,000 home. So as you can guess, Legion never kept any of these promises, even though during that period of time he had convinced Reesa that he had been promoted to vice president at his company, when it turns out that in reality, Legion was a temporary employee for the company and served in a position where he operated a forklift. Throughout his saga, he used manipulation and fabricated documents to convince Reesa to second guess herself, as she was in fact having doubts all along the way, especially after closing fell through several times as they toured dozens of houses and attempted to purchase them.
Found a new real estate agent, really nice guy. His name was Scott. I am using his real name. Really nice guy. And we told him what the budget was. And Scott was like, okay, when you guys are ready, we can start looking at houses. Try to look for houses that are empty because you can actually tour those. If it's a house where someone's already living in there, chances are it's going to be a virtual tour because of COVID. So I found a house that I absolutely, in total, we must have looked at about 15 houses. But I found a house in Smyrna that I absolutely loved. We toured the house. Everything about this house was perfect. The house was listed for $699,000. It was a brand new construction build. The only issue was that the basement was not finished, and he wanted the basement to be his man cave. Again, I went with him to tour this house, so this was already feeling very different than the situation in Douglasville, because we did not actually tour the Douglasville house. We only did a FaceTime virtual tour. This house in Smyrna, we toured. We toured this house more than once, and it was gorgeous, fucking gorgeous. So we talked about it. He said that he had the money. Again, the price was $699. He said he felt comfortable putting in an all-cash offer. If you remember on the videos before, he told me he had money in his savings from when he played football. So when he said an all-cash offer, even I knew you you got that kind of money, like where you can cut a cashier's check for $699,000? And he told me he did. He had money in savings from when he played football, and he was very comfortable paying all cash for this home. So the real estate agent, Scott, sent over the paperwork. The paperwork was sent in both of our names. It was sent to my email. That was another thing that I changed after Douglasville. Everything gets sent to me, and then I will be sure that he signs it. So he sent it to me. I looked over the offer. We were going to put in an all cash, full price offer with a request to have the basement finished. Also, we were requesting for the seller to give us an answer within 24 hours. We were requesting a quick closing. There's just some things I remember. I remember 24 hours, like I didn't want to wait on, y'all think about it. 24 hours, let us know if you're accepting the offer or not. And then also a quick closing because it was a new construction. So we didn't have to wait for the current tenant to move out. We didn't have to do that. So I watched in our bedroom as he pulled it up, because it was a electronic document. He signed his name to the offer for $699,000 cash. He requested again, the seller let us know in 24 hours if they were accepting the offer. So we submitted the offer at around 6 p.m. We were requesting that by 6 p.m. the next day, they let us know if the offer was accepted or not. I watched him sign the offer. I sent the offer back to Scott from my email. All parties had signed. Scott texted us and said, I got it. I'm submitting it. I will let you know.
Eventually, Reesa discovers everything after she ventures to get a new job that requires information to be submitted for her spouse, Legion, and he provides her with a different social security number than the one he used when they got married. She uses that social security number to perform a background search on Legion and begins to discover unexplainable discrepancies. Discrepancies such as San Diego State having no records of his attendance despite this being listed on his resume. As part of her investigation, she also obtains the phone number for his ex-wife, where she uncovers more about Legion's character and lies. In addition, Reesa also discovers Legion has been meeting up with a sex worker named Peaches. And where is Legion during all this discovery? Well, he seems to have developed a severe knee injury of unknown origin. According to Reesa, he's now in the guest room of the house because he's in so much pain he would keep her up if they were in the same room. Also of note right now is that intimacy between them has ceased within 3 weeks of their marriage. With an interrogation of Legion's phone, Reesa had found inappropriate interactions on Facebook Messenger soon after they were married. After being confronted, Legion downplayed the interaction but agreed to go to marital counseling. And that counseling only shed further light on the degree of dysfunction in the marriage and highlighted the shadiness of Legion. So now, with Legion laid up in the guest room and Reesa reeling from devastating revelations, a confrontation occurs, which ends in Legion being abruptly booted from Reesa's townhouse.
Who the fuck did I marry? June 17th, 2021. So, you guys have been on this ride. You now know exactly what information I did have. The morning of June 17th, which was his birthday, he was in the bed as usual, Powerade bottles all over the place because I wasn't in the mood to clean. And so I went in his room. He was awake. He was watching YouTube on his cell phone. He watched a lot of YouTube, watching these two guys that always were fixing Jeeps on YouTube. And if I saw them, I would know exactly who they are, but I can't remember their name. It's a popular show on YouTube. Anyway, so I go in there and I just calmly sit on the edge of the bed and I was like, can we talk? And he was like, yeah, what's up? I said to him, I said, Legion, obviously I called him his name, Legion. I said, I'm going to ask you something. I just want you to be honest with me. So he starts, I can already see in his eyes, he's about to get defensive. I was like, calm, because this is the tone I had. Calm. I said, you never went to San Diego State, did you? He rolls his eyes and he's like, I said, calm down. Watch your tone. I said, you never went to San Diego State. I said, you never lived in California, did you? And he said, of course I lived in California. He's like, I fucking showed you the house I had in California. He said, I told you about San Diego State. I was a private citizen. My dad paid for me to be a private citizen. And I said, okay. I said, I called San Diego State. And he looked at me. His eyes were like empty. Like he wasn't shocked. He wasn't like, oh my God. He was just more like, okay. I said, they have no record of you. I said, they have no record because you never went. You never been to California. So at this point, I'm very calm. And I'm just stating, I said, you never been to California. I said, I bet you've only lived in Georgia, Pennsylvania, and Rhode Island. At this point, now there's a little emotion behind the eyes. And I said, I don't think that this is going to work. And he said, what, the marriage? He was like, so what you saying? You don't want to be married to me anymore? And I said, I don't want to be married to you anymore. I said, we need to go our separate ways. We tried, but we need to go our separate ways. The way that I'm talking to you all is exactly how I was talking to him. And so he was like, that's not what marriage is. Marriage is, you have to fight for what you want. I said, I don't want this. And I don't want to fight for it. I said, I don't want you, and I don't want this. And so he was like, I'm not giving up on the two of us. I said, you don't have a choice. I said, I think that you should call your brother or your sister now. And I think that you need to pack a bag. And I think you need to get the fuck out of my house. And he was like, I don't really have time for this. I don't feel well. I said, I don't care. You need to get out of my house. Again, the way I know y'all are going to be like, she's so dramatic. And in real, I am actually a very dramatic person. But the way that I'm talking to you guys on this video is exactly how I was talking to him in the beginning of how this started. So I said, you need to call your brother or call your sister because she's in Douglasville, and you need to go stay there. You need to get out of this house today. Basically what happened was at first he refused. He wasn't moving fast enough for me. And so he called his aunt, and his aunt was on speakerphone. Let me preface that. She was on speakerphone. And so she was like, what's going on? And he was like, my wife don't want me no more. She claimed that I be lying to her. I ain't never lied to her. When I heard this, what's the analogy I can give y'all? When I heard him say to his aunt, I ain't never lied to her before, something in me snapped. The best analogy I can give you, do y'all remember that movie Carrie? When she was at the prom and everyone was laughing at her? The blood had fallen down on her. And there was a moment where her eyes just went wild. And you knew something was about to happen. You just didn't know what. But y'all had pushed her too far. When he said to his aunt, I ain't never lied to her, I snapped. The calmness left. The amount of rage that was in me. I could have fought every member of the Kansas City Chiefs and beat every last one of their asses. I could have fought every member on the Atlanta Falcons and beat every last one of their asses. I'm not a violent person, but I was there. That statement, I ain't never lied to her, took me there. I went off. I went off. I went off so bad that first of all, every part of me was shaking. I called my mom. My mom was on speakerphone, and she's in Arkansas. My mom's a praying woman. I was cussing like a sailor. My mom finally said, put him on the phone. So I gave him the phone, and I'm standing there, and I'm looking around the room. It's the scene that I remember is the Angela Bassett scene in Waiting to Exhale, when her eyes are darting around the room right before she grabs everything to put it in the car to set it on fire. I was more so looking at what weapons were in the room: the lamp, the TV, the dresser. I was looking more. While she was talking to him, my eyes were darting around the room, because if he did not get his ass up and get his shit and get up out of my house, it was going to be bad. If I've never in my life been on TikTok and said thank you, had it not been for the blood, y'all, I know this is gonna sound dramatic. I know this is gonna sound like, girl, you so funny. You don't understand. Had it not been for the Lord on my side, had it not been for the fact that I know I got a praying mother, I know I had a praying aunt, I know I've had a praying grandmother in heaven, because I'm telling you, I clearly saw what was getting ready to happen had he not gotten up, got his shit, and got out of my house. So I'm trying to calmly say this because I'm trying to calmly tell this story because the rage had taken over me. The pure, unadulterated rage that I felt when he said to his aunt, I ain't never lied to her, after I had discovered only 2% of the lies at that point. Just 2%. So it was enough for me to be like, you need to get your stuff and go. So my mother gets on the phone and she says to him, Legion, she called him by name. She said, I am not there to control my daughter. She said, in the name of Jesus, get your stuff and get out that house, because I think she might kill you. Get out of the house. She's on my phone. His aunt is on his phone. His aunt said, nephew, come home. Home for her was Philly. She said, I'll send you money. Come home. Leave that house right now. She said, because I think that woman is about to kill you. Let's go. Let's just go to part 34. Let's all just take a deep breath. Part 34. Who the fuck did I marry? So the aunt told him, I'll send you money. Come home. And I'm yelling in the background, by the way. I'm not standing there calmly. I'm yelling. I said, oh, he got money. Yeah, you got money. You got money in that offshore account, right? You got money in that Chase account. You got money to drive. So do what you got to do. I told him, and I'm not going to repeat some of the stuff I said because my mom may see this TikTok, but I did tell him, I was like, if you don't get out of this house, actually what I said was, you have two options. You either going to leave this house voluntarily or you're going to leave this house involuntarily. And he tried to get a little nuck if you buck. He tried. And that's when because he was still on the bed, still laying in the bed. And he was just like, you ain't going to do shit. Like, don't talk to me like you done lost your fucking mind. Da, da, da. And I calmly got close to him. I got like this close. And I literally said, I will beat you like the bitch you are. I dare you to try me. I said, I will literally beat you like the male bitch you are. And so when I said that, his eyes were like, I said, I'm not even playing. Because at this point, I'm rocking like back and forth. Y'all, again, I'm not some hardened tight chick. I'm not. I want the soft lifestyle, but I have been pushed to the point. So I'm rocking, I'm walking back, I'm pacing. So finally, his aunt was able to get through to him. I had called my mother, my aunt. I had called the pastor. I had called all these people because I did know that I was in a very dangerous place. Not because I'm scared of him. At this point, I was scared of me. I don't know if this has ever happened to someone where you know yourself. You know that you got a line. I was over that line. So I had enough wherewithal to be like, okay, you're probably gonna go to jail today. You're probably gonna go to jail. You're probably gonna have that job in the morning. Like I was there. And again, this is not to sound bragging at all. This was a woman who I could not believe that even with the attempt of me trying to give him one last opportunity to tell me the truth, he still lied in my face. I was at my edge. So I yanked the covers back, and I told him, I was like, get up, get the fuck out of my house. Again, I'm saying it calmly on here. It was nothing calm in the house when this happened. So I'm throwing stuff up against the wall. I remember I looked at the lamp. He looked at me looking at the lamp, and I think something in him realized, okay, yeah, I'm in pain, but if I don't get up, she's going to do something with that lamp. So he does get up. He is still on the phone with the aunt, because the aunt was pretty much like, keep me on the phone. She did not want him to hang up. He throws some stuff together. Again, keep in mind, he has all his stuff in the house. So he basically packed like 2 bags worth of clothes. And he's limping around, and I'm standing in the hallway watching him like a probation officer. So he's limping around, and I'm looking at the condition of the bedroom. This is when I noticed Legion had been semi-bedridden. Remember I told y'all that, because the knee and other stuff. I look at these bottles of Powerade, because he had been drinking Powerade so much at this point. He was not getting up to go to the bathroom. He was drinking the Powerade and then using the empty bottles to pee in. So there was about 6 bottles around the bed. And I was like, what is this? Because again, I hadn't really been going in that room. I was busy being CIA, FBI, and Homeland Security for the past 2 weeks. So I was like, what is this? He was like, I'm gonna throw it out. He grabbed the trash bag, put the bottles in there. And I said, what are in those bottles? I said, tell me. And I think I started like twitching. Like, tell me. That is not piss in those bottles. He was like, I couldn't make it to the bathroom. I was in too much pain. So at this point, I'm even more like, yeah, get the fuck out. Get out. Get out of my house. So I helped him. While he was packing his bags, I went downstairs. I took the house key off of his keys. I went back upstairs. He had his 2 bags. I grabbed the 2 bags. Yes, I did. I grabbed the 2 bags. I had opened up the garage. I had already popped the trunk for his car and threw the bags in the car. I did that because I was like, you getting out of this house.
This leaves Reesa alone with Legion's belongings, where she finds a melange of more evidence that reveals further things like a criminal history, his actual work history of menial employment, and a prepaid phone that reveals evidence of a healthy bank balance was actually nothing more than a screenshot taken from Google Images. So with Legion gone, Reesa creates divorce documents and meets up with him at a UPS store where the documents can be notarized. Legion, when he gets there, is obviously still suffering from a mystery illness and has lost weight and appears to have been living in his car and smells that way too. After this, Legion makes an attempt to return to Reesa's home later, and this was during the waiting period for the finalization of their divorce. And at that time, he gets arrested on a warrant for a probation violation. Reesa moves out of the home a day after Legion is released from jail. So in the aftermath of Reesa's 50-part story, there has been heavy curiosity regarding Legion's mystery illness. And if you go down the rabbit hole of numerous content creators, you'll find speculation that Legion's symptoms were secondary to HIV, allegedly. Now, a subsequent lie from Reesa has confirmed that she is healthy and has no health issues, which is the extent to which she wanted to discuss the whole matter. So now let's go for the elephant in the room. But before that, let me say I, the ugly doctor, will not attempt to make the ugly diagnosis in this case. But we're all thinking about it, so let's talk about it. I can't diagnose him, but does it quack like a duck? Like, some of the main features of narcissistic personality disorder are here. Traits like grandiosity and the need for attention and admiration.
So that was our first phone call. We talked more. He talked a lot, which took me by surprise because I'm not really used to men talking more than me. Wow. Who knew that he had this kind of money? And so I hated the fact that he did that, because anytime he got around my family, here's another red flag to put in the United Nations of red flags. He would always talk about money, and he would always brag. I never realized it in real time. I didn't realize it until I was out of the situation. He always bragged about the fact that he could fight, the fact that he had money, and the fact that he played football.
Some behavioral health camps even agree on additional criteria, and these may be less known, but I find them fascinating. First, there's identity disturbance. In the narcissist, we see often a disturbed state where there is a need to maintain the view that they are exceptional. Their sense of self is rigid, like they must be special, yet fragile, like they're very defensive over any attack or even perceived attack on their superiority.
He sends me a voicemail. He calls me back. I said, it's 3 o'clock. No one ever came with the car. What's going on? And then I remember I was like, well, do I need to call Audi myself? Because I thought that you handled it. But if you didn't handle it, do I need to call them? And so whenever I would suggest I will handle it, he would get very, very defensive. Red flag number 472.
Another interesting yet vicious trait is a profound lack of empathy. Can we deduce this from Reesa's stories? Another item associated with narcissistic personality disorder is chronic emptiness and boredom and restlessness. And this leads the person who is constantly driven by feeling depleted and empty to not appreciate a normal life, the normal life that comes with a deep, invested, and honest relationship. They are overly driven by the excitement and validation that comes from attention and praise and even conflict. They never get past superficial gratification. They only have the goal of fulfilling their immediate narcissistic needs.
Argument, and I was like, don't even worry about it. I'm gonna get a new car my damn self. I don't even need your help. Which is probably one of the worst things you can tell a narcissist, because they love to be the hero. You know, it's all about them. But I was like, don't even worry about it. I'll get when I have the money to get a car myself, I'll do it. I don't want to hear anything else about a new car. I don't want to hear shit else about a car. Because at this point, I was spending way too much time trying to figure out, are we getting a car? Are we getting a house? Like, what the fuck is going on? Always there was an excuse. So when I told him I don't want to hear anything else about a car, and I am not going to a dealership to test drive another car, that ended that whole discussion right there. So this is where I'm going to interject what I believe was happening. I believe that my ex-husband is the type of person, he gets off, nut. He gets off on you being excited about something that he knows you will never get. So I believe that he enjoyed going to car dealerships. He enjoyed watching me test drive a car and get excited about it, knowing I was not going to get it. It is the level of cruelty. And again, I'm telling y'all stuff that I found out way later on. It is the level of cruelty that I still...
One last interesting aspect here is that Legion is a twin. I am not sure whether they are identical, but if so, this would make for an interesting study, since narcissistic personality disorder is understudied. But with the information available, it does seem to disproportionately impact Black males. To be honest, this has me doing research beyond my medical school education. The last thing I want to do when it comes to my own parenting is create another Legion. Ooh, child. Want a little more of this saga? Here are some honorable mentions. Lie 1. He has 4 siblings, 2 brothers, 2 sisters, 1 brother he speaks to every morning. What was reality? Legion has 2 brothers. He has one who is a twin, who is actually a successful vice president of a company, and the other, the one who he pretended to speak with every morning, he hadn't spoke to him in years. What was the cover? He did the phone trick as demonstrated by Ressa. Another lie.
The bank, or he calls his financial advisor, who does have a name. The financial advisor's name is Eric. I feel comfortable using certain people's names, especially if we find out they didn't exist. So he calls Eric. He tells Eric in front of me, hey, I need to transfer $72,526, whatever the amount was, because I'm buying a car for my fiance. This is the bank account information. Do you need me to give it to you over the phone, or do you need me to email it to you? Pause. I can't hear what the person's saying, but that's what he would do. Do you need me to give it to you over the phone, or can I email it to you? Okay. All right, give me a few minutes and I'll go ahead and email it to you. All right, let me know. I'll call you back to find out if you received it. Okay, hang up.
Another lie. He told Ressa that his grandma had died during the COVID pandemic. What was the truth? His grandma had been dead since 2018. What was the cover? He actually took Ressa to a grave site that he said was the grandma's in Georgia, when really it was just a cemetery where he used to be employed. That's not where his grandma was buried. And another lie, the one about his ex-wife, the one he said that lived in California with him and 2 stepkids who he was close to. And he also said that he had divorced the ex-wife due to her being caught in the act of infidelity. And during him and Ressa's relationship, he also told Ressa that the stepdaughter was found unresponsive in her apartment and declared dead on arrival at the hospital from COVID. And he told Ressa that he needed to send $2,000 to help in the stepdaughter's burial. What was the reality? Him and the ex-wife lived and divorced in Georgia. There was a stepson who he was not close to at all. In fact, the stepson went to jail for fighting him. And the ex-wife, she's the one that initiated separating from him for obvious reasons, and she wants nothing to do with him.
We know he lies. So I'm just trying to figure out is this true? Because he's up here asking us for money, asking to stay on our couches. Like, what's going on? Then she explained to me, we didn't even know he got married. So this is the first time we're hearing about you. What do you mean you didn't know he got married? He talks to his brother every day. She said, who told you that? I said, I've heard him talk to his brother every day. All his brothers. She said, all his brothers? How many brothers do you think he has? I said, he has 4 brothers. I named them. She said, he has 2 brothers. She said, he has the twin and he has the older brother. I said, twin? Who is the twin? Things are not feeling too strong right now. He was like, I want us to get married. I want a home. I will show you whatever you need to see to put you at ease. He was very like contrite. He was very just like, what do I need to do to put your mind at ease so that you know I'm in this and that I want this and that I love you and I want you to be my wife. So I was like, show me your accounts. He showed me his checking. He showed me one of his savings. He showed me a Chase savings. He did not show me the offshore. And he did not show me the U.S. bank. So show me your checking. Let's look at each other's accounts. Look at what we have currently. He was cool with that. So he shows me his checking account. His checking account available balance was just over $9,600. Mine was just over $1,500. So there was a huge disparity in the amounts. And so he logged in on the phone and turned it towards me, and I could see available checking, available balance, just over $9,600. I logged into my savings. I showed him how much I had in savings. He picked up his phone, logged into his Chase savings, turned the phone towards me. In the Chase savings, it was roughly about $15,000. But I also knew that he told me he had a U.S. bank savings and he had an offshore savings. So at this point in time, I asked him, show me the U.S. bank savings, show me the other 2 accounts. He would not do it. I introduced to reverse Google image search. I did a reverse Google image search. Sure enough, as you probably have figured out, some of you, because I read it in the comments, what he showed me when he turned his phone around, showing me his available checking account balance, was nothing more than a screenshot that he had found on Google. When he showed me his savings, turned the phone around, because remember, I demonstrated for y'all how he was, and then, turned it around and showed it to me as if he was signing in. When he did that, he was simply showing me a screenshot that he had taken from Google Images.
Paging Dr. White. Dr. White, call your office. Dr. White, call your office.